First off, we decided to, well, in my case, it was a revisit of The Corpse Bride. Daniel, had you ever seen this one?
I hadn't. I had not. No.
Yeah, so this one is kind of interesting. It's basically getting the band back together for another try at making another. It's like a spiritual sequel to A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, that sounds accurate. Although I've never seen The Nightmare Before Christmas, so I can't really comment on
Okay, since I don't get to do this very often, what?
that. Yeah.
So,
Just
okay.
yeah. Well, it's just never really never got my attention. Never really interested me. Sorry.
We'll only shame you slightly.
Okay.
Slightly.
All right.
So, Corpse Bride, 2005 movie, directed by Tim Burton. It is based on, loosely based on I believe, an Eastern European Jewish myth. Um, and how to put this nicely? This movie is about an hour and 18 minutes long, counting the credits.
Yeah.
Did it kind of feel like they were kind of stretching for time in a couple of places despite that?
Yes. Yes, they did. Yeah. Yeah, and obviously the original story that it was based on was probably like a poem or short story or something along those lines.
Yeah, like something like the length of a grim fairy tale.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So this one is kind of interesting because, like I said, it brings back the cast, or not the cast, excuse me. It brings back the behind the camera talents from Nightmare Before Christmas. Which, since I now know that there are functional adults who haven't seen that movie, that means Tim Burton directing. It
yeah.
means what's his name? Who did the music for this one? The guy from
Uh,
Oingo Boingo,
uh,
Danny
uh,
Elfman.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Danny Elfman did the music and performed the role of one of the skeletons, specifically this fellow with the derby hat.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I looked up the trivia for this one. Apparently, that just destroyed his throat doing that part,
Oh,
which is
really?
interesting considering that the character doesn't really feature in the movie very much.
Yeah, Mm,
So I guess it's just as well he was a small part.
yeah. Oof.
But the overall plot of this thing is that you have a nouveau riche family of fishmongers marrying into an established, like, land rich but bankrupt family of aristocrats.
Yeah.
He's the guy voiced by Johnny Depp is a befuddled wimp. Might be a polite way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the young lady he's betrothed to is her name is Victoria, and she kind of has a what do I want to say, like a naive quality to her.
Yeah, definitely seems sweet and innocent. Voiced by Emily Watson.
Mm,
But so they have a meet cute. It's a nice little musical scene. They do a practice rehearsal for the wedding with Christopher Lee as the pastor on the left there, doing
yeah.
a well, he's Christopher Lee. He's always great in everything he's in.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately for Victor, he keeps messing up the vows, and so they basically tell him, you know, get
Get
out
out,
and
yeah, practice and get it right.
yeah, and so then he goes out to the woods. He does a little practice, and he puts the ring on what he thinks is a kind of weird tree branch, but it's actually a bony hand, and that the hand belongs to our titular corpse bride.
Voiced by And even if I hadn't kind of known this, just knowing it was a Tim Burton movie released in the 2000s,
Yeah.
Helena Bonham Carter, of course.
Yes. Who's Tim Burton's wife?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Between Johnny Depp, Helena Bonham Carter, and Christopher Lee, it's like, okay, so he didn't really look too far into the Rolodex when he was cast in this one, did he?
No, he didn't. And even Michael Goff, whose voices one of the characters, he played Alfred in the Batman movies.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. But
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So he puts the ring on the woman's finger and ends up in some sort of underworld? Question mark.
Yeah, it's never really established where they are.
Yeah, it's like it's clearly some sort of land of the dead, but it also seems to be like it's almost like when you bury somebody in this world, they just hang out underground together.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they have to perform magic to get back to the surface. It's like like everybody there is clearly rotting away to varying degrees.
Right. Yeah. And of course, yeah, he doesn't fit in because he's, still alive.
Yep. So yeah, so it's his efforts to try and get back and marry Victoria, or maybe not marry Victoria as the plot thickens.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bit of a kind of a love triangle going on between Victor, Victoria, and the corpse bride.
Yep. And you find out more about the mystery of what happened to her.
Hmm.
Now, I will say strengths of this movie. This is the stop motion team that I believe went on to make things like Paranorman, Kubo and the Two Strings. Basically, every few years through the 2000s, 2010s, there was a what I would call a prestige level stop motion film made by these people.
Yeah.
So I think this was kind of their like if they weren't involved with Nightmare Before Christmas, this was like them getting their feet under them,
Yeah.
as far as I can tell. Um, so it's got some very nice stop motion animation. Uh, you can at times kind of tell that how to put it. A full stop motion animation movie is always kind of hard to make completely seamless.
Hmm.
Like you can usually suspend your disbelief, but there's a couple of shots where I just went, okay, that's clearly a 6-inch model somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course you don't have the motion blur that you normally do with stop motion.
Right, right. Um, Other strengths, I'd say that you have a good cast here.
Hmm.
As much as as much as you can joke on Tim Burton for just casting the same people over and over and over again, you can see why he kept going back to the well.
Yeah.
Also, another interesting person to cast is Tracy Ullman did a couple of voices. People
Yeah.
will know her as the one who launched The Simpsons.
Yes. And then lost the Simpsons.
Yeah,
um,
when she sees how much money that's made over the years, I wonder if she occasionally just has to make a point of not counting the money.
yeah. Not for lack of trying on her part though, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and Albert Finney, I believe, was the voice of Victoria's father. Um,
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
yeah.
Finis Everglot.
Yes.
Uh, uh, Now, as far as the weaknesses, like we alluded to before, it does kind of pad itself out a bit, and
Mhm.
like it feels like there might be a few too many characters, or a few too many characters who don't have a whole lot to do besides show off their visual gag gimmick and exist in
Yeah.
the underworld.
Yeah, and of course, also padding out the runtime are the song and dance numbers.
Right, which I guess if there really wasn't any song and dance numbers, you could have probably turned this into a hour-long TV movie. Though the budget for a stop motion thing on this scale would have not made it economical to make it a TV movie.
Right. Yeah.
But you get the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say that musical numbers. I'm going to grade it on the curve of other musicals we've reviewed this year. I would say this is a slightly worse musical uh, than Wonka
Mhm.
in terms of memorability. Um, It definitely does not hold a single candle to A Nightmare Before Christmas
Mm,
on the song catchiness front,
yeah.
which would be hard to do, but
Yeah.
yeah. The other thing that's oh yeah, another production factoid I picked up. So most stop motion productions will usually like there are different ways to have a character talk. One is you have a whole bunch of different shaped versions of the head that you just swap in to do different parts of the mouth movements.
Yeah.
Or you could be like Aardman Studios, the makers of Wallace and Gromit, where they swap in mouths of different sizes.
Mm,
Apparently, these models were used an extremely intricate clockwork mechanism, so you could just make minute adjustments on it between shots, which was apparently such a nerve-wracking process that one of the producers reported having nightmares where he was using the clockwork to move his own face.
oh, jeez. I could see that happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say this is a labor of love. If you're like me and you kind of like stop motion animation just for its own sake, it's a good production on that basis alone. But if you're like Daniel and you haven't seen this movie or Nightmare Before Christmas, go watch Nightmare Before Christmas. This is your like yeah, this is like the sophomore slump, I guess, or this is the second attempt. The Actually, to bring back to Joker 2, which we talked about briefly a moment ago, this is the attempt to put lightning back in the bottle. Except this time they didn't actively hate the previous audience or movie.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I thought it was, it's a darkly whimsical movie. I think is a
Yeah, that's a
great
good
way
way to
to,
put it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which you could say probably say that about most of Tim Burton's movies, even Beetlejuice, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, it's it's great to look at, and obviously it's they put a lot of time and effort into doing the stop motion, which as somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of patience, I couldn't do stop motion. Like it's just that would grate on me. Just like okay, just move the arm a little bit up. All right, good. All right, now 30 minutes, move it the other way. All right, just
Yeah.
like um,
Congratulations. He's now holding his hat. He hasn't taken the hat off of his head yet, but he's holding his hat.
yes, and it took you 5 hours to do that. Like oh,
Yeah.
um,
Also, say
uh,
there were some decent gags in here too. So it's not like
yeah,
it was a bad time, just a mediocre time.
yeah. Though I will say, after watching this movie, Disney really should have hired Tim Burton to direct the Haunted Mansion movie.
Yeah, it does seem kind of like an obvious get.
Yeah,
I wonder if he was under some sort of contract at Warner Brothers because I think all of his movies from this time period came out through them.
probably. Yeah,
So that could have been it.
yeah. But yeah, if you're interested, it's on Max.